Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Webster Tarpley in Washington, D.C. And again, look at that. It was the Russians and the Chinese teaming up. The Russians leaked the infamous quackademic charlatan emails from East Anglia Climate Research Unit. They blew the whistle. They exposed these characters. Hats off to the Russians. And then China successfully blocked with a very clever strategy, playing on the ideological profile of the various Greenpeace and other green fascist organizations, tying them up in knots, knowing that Greenpeace could never blame the third world. They have to blame the rich. So that's how it was done. Thank you to Russia. Thank you to China. And don't kid yourself that it would have been blocked without those, because it was not the power of the Tea Party or something like this that stopped this, because Obama and the Democratic Congress were completely in favor of it. And obviously this isn't over yet, but they're all saying after other conferences in the past, when the Doha round blew up some years ago, they said, well, it's okay, we'll have another conference in Mexico and we'll get it back on track. And they never have. The Doha round has not gone anywhere. So there's a very good chance that this entire Copenhagen process is dead as a doornail. Obviously, vigilance. Now, one of the things you're going to find at tarpley.net when you go there is this economic program that I want to call your attention to, and that is right at the top. You can find it right at the top as a PDF, and if you want to find it then as a text, electronic, Word document, you can find that too. Let's just go through this. I'll see how far I get. We'll continue this next week. We're going to be taping our program between the years, so to speak, between Christmas and New Year's, and we're going to go into a program and some other issues of permanent interest. It's entitled 30 Million New Productive High-Wage Jobs to Rebuild U.S. Infrastructure, Industry, and Agriculture. This is the program to end the world economic depression. Notice the 30 million. Well, official unemployment is about 15 million. So, given the basic structure of how unemployment is counted, you've got to double that. So, 30 million jobs would get you to full employment in the United States. And here's the situation. The U.S. and the world are gripped by a deepening economic depression. There is no recovery. There is no automatic business cycle which will revive the economy. This bottomless depression will get worse and worse until policies are reformed. The depression has been caused by deregulated and globalized financial speculation, especially the $1.5 quadrillion derivatives bubble, financial derivatives bubble. The U.S. industrial base has been gutted, and the U.S. standard of living has fallen by almost two-thirds over the last 4 decades. We must reverse this trend of speculation, deindustrialization, and immiseration. That's the new SDI. The new SDI, speculation, deindustrialization, and immiseration. Tinkering with money is not enough. You've got to address those. Current policy bails out bankers. This is the Bernanke policy. But it does nothing and actually harms working people. It harms industrial producers, farmers, and small business. We must defend civil society and democratic institutions from the effects of high unemployment and economic breakdown. We therefore demand, and let's see how far we get. Whatever we don't cover today, we'll be back next week. Number one, immediate measures to reduce speculation and minimize the burden of fictitious capital. End all bailouts of banks and financial institutions. Claw back the bailout, the TARP, and other public money that has been given or lent to financiers. Abolish the notion of too big to fail. J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Citibank, Wells Fargo, and the other Wall Street zombie banks are insolvent, and they must be seized by the FDIC for Chapter 7 liquidation, with derivatives eliminated, first of all, by triage. Reinstitute the Glass-Steagall firewall to separate banks, brokerages, and insurance. That's the New Deal regulation that kept us safe until it was removed by free market lunatics. Reinstitute Glass-Steagall. Ban, outlaw, credit default swaps and adjustable rate mortgages. To generate revenue and discourage speculation, levy a 1% Tobin tax, that is a securities transfer tax or trading tax, on all financial derivatives, transactions including derivatives, that is futures, options, indices, over-the-counter derivatives, plus stocks, bonds, foreign exchange, and commodities, especially program trading, high-frequency trading, and flash trading. Set up a 15% reserve requirement on all over-the-counter derivatives. You want to write these derivatives? Great. You have to keep and hold 15%. So if they go down, you go down, and you won't have an incentive to unload toxic paper on others. Use this Tobin tax revenue and the revived corporate income tax to provide immediate tax relief for individuals, families, the self-employed, and small business. In other words, let GE Capital start paying their share and take the tax burden off small business. Move the tax burden to Wall Street and the banks where it belongs and take it off the rest of us. It's elementary. Use, therefore, the Tobin tax revenue and get back to a corporate income tax, which basically nobody pays. Also, do this by increasing personal exemptions and standard deductions. This means you're going to help the people at the lower end of the scale who need it most, but everybody gets the same benefit. Stop all foreclosures on primary residences, businesses, and farms for 5 years or the duration of the depression, whichever lasts longer. That's the secret to foreclosures. Stop them on the primary residence only, but that is sacrosanct for 5 years or the duration of the depression. Set a 10% maximum rate of interest on credit cards and payday loans. Go back to the usury laws we had until Paul Adolf Volcker came along. Re-regulate commodities markets with a 100% margin requirement, position limits, and anti-speculation protection for hedgers and end users to prevent oil and gasoline price spikes up into the ionosphere. Enforce labor laws, child labor laws, and antitrust laws against monopolies and cartels. Restore individual Chapter 11 bankruptcy to what it was before the Joe Biden bankruptcy reform of a couple of years ago. And remember, antitrust laws against banks and against health insurance companies as well. Number two, measures to nationalize the Federal Reserve, to cut federal borrowing, and provide 0% federal credit for production. Seize the U.S. Federal Reserve. Bring it under the U.S. Treasury as the National Bank of the United States. No longer the preserve of unelected and unaccountable cliques of incompetent and predatory bankers, because they're the ones who run it. The Fed is not the center of the problem. The Fed is a tentacle of Wall Street. Those are the power relations. Anybody can see that. The size of the money supply, interest rates, and approved types of lending must be determined by public laws passed and debated openly, approved by the Congress and signed by the President. Stop U.S. government borrowing. I repeat, stop U.S. government borrowing from zombie banks and foreigners. Let the U.S. government function as its own bank. Reverse current policy by instituting 0% federal lending with preferential treatment for tangible physical production and manufacturing of goods, commodities, to include industry, agriculture, construction, mining, energy production, transportation, infrastructure building, public works, scientific research, but not financial services, and speculation. Issue tranches of $1 trillion as needed to create 30 million union wage productive jobs and attain full employment for the first time since 1945, reversing the decline in the U.S. standard of living over the past 40 years. So that's about 1.5 points. It's a 2-page item. Take a look. You can read it in a few minutes on Tarpley.net. Tarpley.net is the place to go. And tune in to Tarpley.net for up-to-date updates in the coming week. So a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all, and we'll see you next week.